Organizing a face-to-face meeting for our colleagues or our employees is a necessary part of our professional life, regardless if you are a manager or a service desk trainer, or if you are responsible for the quality of services provided by your company. In each of these situations, you may want to organize these meetings with your colleagues or employees in order to make sure that they do exactly what they should be doing. Now, here is a couple of suggestions for you to consider how to organize it right. First of all, you need to find the right time for such a meeting. You need to consult your own Outlook to make sure that you have some free space in there to squeeze in yet another meeting. But that's not all. You have to make sure that the employee you are going to have a meeting with is also available within that particular time. Sometimes, if the person with whom you are going to have your face-to-face meeting is not your subordinate, it may be necessary also to consult the team manager of the person, just to make sure that they are okay with the time that you have planned for the meeting. Granted, there are other things you need to take into consideration as well when you think about the time itself. For instance, in some companies, there are particular parts of the week or part of the day when our employees are particularly busy. Perhaps this is the time which is not the best to organize a face-to-face meeting with an employee. It's always good to come to every meeting prepared, and in order to make any sort of preparation, you need to write a list of topics that you would like to discuss with the employee. It's always good to think ahead which aspects of their work you want to discuss with them. Of course, many of us, they may feel tempted to just improvise and play it by ear, but sometimes it's just not enough. You never know if you will remember all the elements that you want to discuss in the meeting. Rather than that, it's better to spend some extra time thinking what to cover in a meeting like this. My suggestion would be to start planning it a couple of days ahead and to come back to this list shortly before the meeting to check if all of these topics that you have planned are still valid, or perhaps there is something that you should add to this list. I've seen a couple of situations in my professional life when a manager going for a coffee break met an employee and somewhere in the corridor mentioned, "Hey Veronica, remember, next week I think I would like to speak to you at, let's say, 2:30. Now, this information is far from perfect because, of course, this Veronica can very easily forget that her manager wanted to see her this particular day, this particular time. My suggestion would be always to send an Outlook invitation with the exact time and place where this meeting should happen. Besides giving the subject of the meeting, my suggestion would also be to give some hints on what to expect in the meeting by writing 2 or 3 main topics to discuss. It can give a chance to the other person to prepare at least mentally for the meeting, and such meeting can be much more effective this way. Now, if in your face-to-face meeting you are planning to discuss more than one issue, a good idea would be to add or attach to this invitation a couple of documents, a couple of presentations perhaps you want this particular employee to analyze before the meeting. If you send this invitation much in advance, then it gives this employee some chances to prepare very well to this meeting in such a way that they can read all these materials, they can make their own notes, they can think of some questions they may ask you in the meeting. This creates the feeling of trust as well, because there is something that this employee knows that you will ask them to talk about. Now, if it happens to be the time of lockdown and you are working from your home as well as your employee, then probably an online meeting invitation would be enough. There is no need to plan a special meeting room. However, even in such a situation, it's good to agree, for instance, with all the other people living in your house that on this particular day, this particular time, you would ask them maybe not to interrupt you in the middle of a meeting. Now, if you are working in an office and if you are planning to organize this meeting live, real, face-to-face, when you can shake hands, then make sure that you have the right room booked. also taken into consideration some possible pandemic elements there. So let it be big enough, room enough, spacious enough, hopefully with a window that you can open or a very well working air conditioning. Even if you have booked this room in advance, it's a good idea to check just before the meeting if this room is still available. Who knows what can happen in the meantime? If you have sent the invitation, if you have booked the room, you've checked that the room is still available, it's a good idea to appear there 5 minutes before the time of the meeting, just to make sure that you have all the materials ready, that the room is empty, that there is no one there, that the projector is working, or whatever other piece of equipment you may want to use. It's a good idea so that you come first and that the person you invited for the face-to-face meeting does not have to wait for you. This way you are showing them your respect, and it's also probably much more comfortable for you if you have a couple of minutes in advance to make yourself feel at home. And now my personal favorite. No matter how well you prepare yourself for a face-to-face meeting, there can always be a situation that will surprise you, and be ready for that. Be ready to be surprised at a certain point and have a plan B ready as well. For instance, if you see that the room that was empty just 5 minutes ago, but now there is the CEO of your company telling you that they need to take the room, probably you will have to let the room go, and hopefully there will be another room available. Just make sure in advance so that there is a place where you can go with this employee to have a face-to-face meeting if the original meeting room is not available any longer. Be prepared to such unexpected situations, like for instance electricity shortage. I have witnessed something like this when a couple of people met. It was for a job interview, and most of them, including the manager and human resources representatives, they had their laptop batteries almost empty, and if there was no place to charge their batteries, they had to finish the job interview after 3 minutes. Now this is highly unprofessional. My suggestion would be then to make sure the battery of your laptop is charged. I really hope you were able to find something you liked in this video. Let me know in the comments if you would like to share some of your ideas on how to prepare to a face-to-face meeting, and I'll speak to you next time.